In today's Neville Goddard conversation, I'd like to discuss inner conversations from the premise of fulfilled desire. He says, the world is a magic circle of infinite possible mental transformations, for there are an infinite number of possible mental conversations. When we discover the creative power of inner talking, we will realize our function and our mission in life. Then we can act to a purpose. Without such knowledge, we act unconsciously. Everything is a manifestation of the mental conversations which go on in us without our being aware of them. But as civilized beings, we must become aware of them and act with a purpose. So I love the part where he says, without such knowledge, we act unconsciously. That is to say, in other words, to roam around, allowing ourselves to be undesirably polarized like a puppet to information on the screen of space, reflective of past inharmonious beliefs, although unconscious, and calling it fate, rather than accepting how one truly desires to live as an already established fact, which is then done for us automatically by law. And so we know what we want, even if it is to feel generally a certain way. This is because the spiritual self, although formless, speaks to the natural self through the language of desire, which means there's no need to deny desire. We accept it the way we imagine it to be, and it plays out through a bridge of incidents to realizing that desire. As he says here, the spiritual self speaks to the natural self through the language of desire. The key to progress in life and to the fulfillment of dreams lies in ready obedience to its voice. Unhesitating obedience to its voice is an immediate assumption of the wish fulfilled. To desire a state is to have it. So if you desire a state, you already have it. You don't need to ask me or anyone for permission or approval. We have unhesitating obedience to our inner voice, and we accept the desire by carrying on a conversation inside your mind, thinking feelingly from the premise of fulfilled desire, as stated in Matthew 6:6. But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father, who is unseen. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you. And this is what I've been doing since 2004, when I learned about autosuggestion through Think and Grow Rich. Autosuggestions are inner conversations from the premise of fulfilled desire. You disentangle your mind from the evidence of the senses and focus your attention on an invisible state by carrying on mentally an inner conversation from the premise of fulfilled desire. You go into your room, which is your mind, and rearrange the structure of it by entering into the state of your wish fulfilled via inner conversation. The unseen takes the contents of your mind and externalizes it for you. It's what is done in secret that is done for you. I wouldn't recommend taking the previous patterns of this world that are undesirable and re-impressing them upon your subconscious mind, going around in circles on the screen of space. The conscious aspect of your mind is the guardian of the subconscious, and so we use it. Romans 12:2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. This is the conscious use of the two gifts bestowed upon humanity to create the life that you want. They are mind and speech, as stated in the Hermetica. What you speak inside your mind is done for you, and you choose what you speak inside. I'm not going to tell you what to speak inside. You already know. Remember, the spiritual self speaks to the natural self through the language of desire. The key to progress in life and to the fulfillment of dreams lies in ready obedience to its voice. Unhesitating obedience to its voice is an immediate assumption of the wish fulfilled. To desire a state is to have it. Like when you're working out, for example. You put on your earbuds and disentangle your mind from the noise of the gym and focus on your mind and muscle connection, mentally feeling it till it crowds out all the noise. Same thing with deal making in business. I disentangle my mind in the moment from the seeming evidence of senses when it comes to rejection and focus my attention on an invisible state of acceptance. Not trying to convince them, no neediness or approval seeking. And if those beliefs that result in neediness, approval seeking show up, then that's fine. No need to shame or condemn ourselves. They don't actually hold you back. You can bring them to awareness and release them with autosuggestion. I've worked with thousands of sales professionals, and this is how they released inharmonious beliefs in regards to rejection, to earn a lavish, steady, dependable income, through accepting that they already are who they desire to be, while releasing the psychological grip to the inharmonious beliefs which they were unconsciously speaking to themselves. Once they brought to awareness what they were doing inside, as Neville said earlier, without such knowledge, they acted unconsciously. They then released what they were doing inside. And having this knowledge, they initiated an inner conversation from the premise of fulfilled desire, having put off for good that former conversation which was not ideal. Again, because of Matthew 6:6. When you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you. The unseen does everything for you. And so, it's what you say inside that's done for you. It is what you say I am too inside that counts. I let this world be and enter into my desired state inside, and they change in front of my eyes. They were saying XYZ, and now they're saying ABC, because I am saying ABC inside, all done for you. So again, we let the world be. If you don't like it, change your concept of yourself inside, and it's automatically done for you outside. You say inside, I am my ideal now, for example, as a general statement, which includes all that is ideal, or specific, which can be, I have a lavish, steady, dependable income consistent with integrity and mutual benefit, which is the Dr. Millikan affirmation shared by Neville, as he says here. A newspaperman related to me that our great scientist, Robert Millikan, once told him that he had set a goal for himself at an early age when he was still very poor and unproven in the great work he was to do in the future. He condensed his dream of greatness and security into a simple statement, which statement implied that his dream of greatness and security was already realized. He then repeated the statement over and over again to himself until the idea of greatness and security filled his mind and crowded all other ideas out of his consciousness. This may not have been the words of Dr. Millikan, but they are those given to me, and I quote, I have a lavish, steady, dependable income consistent with integrity and mutual benefit. As I have said repeatedly, Everything depends upon our attitude towards ourselves. And so, what if appearances seem to deny, causing unnecessary suffering? Well, again, we're taught in Romans 12:2. Do not conform to the pattern of the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And by that, it means to not judge this world by the evidence of the senses or appearances. This means observe without reacting. We let the world be. We release beliefs of judgment, condemnation, unnecessary force, and control. We observe without reacting. And you'll see from there, everything resumes to happen automatically to realizing your vision as you remain in the state of the wish fulfilled. So again, observe without reacting. And I know I say that a lot. It means we allow the emotions to release. Emotions are energy in motion. Allow them to release alongside the inharmonious beliefs by observing them without judgment. This naturally disentangles the mind from the evidence of the senses to remain in the state of the wish fulfilled. As we discussed, and I'll link to it, in the Emmett Fox 7-Day Mental Diet video I did earlier this year. We let the world be, and then you can effortlessly think feelingly from the premise of fulfilled desire. An inner conversation, for example, you are complete inside, have everything inside, are already ideal now, and some way, somehow, things happen ideally to realize your vision. You can feel it. Feeling is the secret. This is again in Romans 12:2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And you renew your mind by carrying on an inner conversation with intention from the premise of fulfilled desire. Think feelingly in your imagination of what implies to experience the feeling of the wish fulfilled. From there, everything is done for you to realize it. And always remember to dissolve any doubt. There's always a way to realize your vision. Reality is infinite. And when one operates through this physical self, the world experienced through the five senses, they may forget that the spiritual self is not bound to any made-up beliefs, rules, and self-imposed restrictions. It is above these things. And so we release the grip of restrictive beliefs in the moment to allow it to be done for us. The spiritual self sees and knows all, as Neville states here. The spiritual view, on the other hand, sees the contents of time. The past and future are a present whole to the spiritual view. What is mental and subjective to the natural self is concrete and objective to the spiritual self. And I've seen this before, and I've done it myself, where one asks, should I do this or should I do that? Maybe they only see two options. They're operating from a belief that facilitates them only seeing two. And so they can release that control in the moment, as there are infinite options between and beyond one or another. And by releasing the psychological grip, which is to observe without reacting, the ideal option is selected for them. This is why my answer a lot of times is, well, the answer is it depends. Or let's explore this further. To not throw my bias into the mix and release any rigidity of mind. To restore fluidity of mind, the way it was divinely designed to be. From my tech background, I think in terms of quantum computing versus classical computing. In classical computing, bits could be 0 or 1. Quantum computing operates with qubits, which can be a value of 1 or 0, but it can also be 1 and 0 at the same time. This is known as superposition, and I'd reflect upon that deeply, because one way is not better than another. The answer is it depends, and it could be a combination. So in summary, entering into the state via inner conversations is one part. How does one then remain in their desired state of the wish fulfilled till it becomes their dwelling place? And what happens if they fall out of the state? How do they get back into it? Well, let's explore this quote here. He says, "To cultivate the faculty of seeing the invisible, we should often deliberately disentangle our minds from the evidence of the senses and focus our attention on an invisible state, mentally feeling it and sensing it until it has all the distinctness of reality." So the part I'd like to focus on is this one. We should often deliberately disentangle our minds from the evidence of the senses. To disentangle our mind from the evidence of the senses, we want to return to the position of the observer, formless awareness without bias, which means allow the emotions to pass without judgment. And then from there, we feel neutral again. Feeling is the secret. And from there, you can carry on an inner conversation from the premise of fulfilled desire. And then you feel it real again. And then go on with your life. You'll find that this act also releases so many restrictive beliefs in mind. As we go to the beginning here, as he mentioned, without such knowledge, we act unconsciously. He's referring to the unconscious beliefs one has surrendered their free will to operate like a puppet to, for example, news that polarizes them out of their state of the wish fulfilled. Remember, it's not the information, it's the belief inside that is causing the polarization. So I don't believe anybody wants to not remain in the state of the wish fulfilled. It feels great. Everything happens naturally and effortlessly. You're in your flow and everything works out. And so we do this by bringing awareness into the equation. Always remember the power of awareness is infinite. By returning to the position of the observer, if you experience overthinking or reactivity, you can disentangle your mind from the evidence of the senses by being aware of emotions and thoughts without identifying with them. This allows them to be released naturally. Remember, emotion is energy in motion. Allow it to release. You then remain in the state of the wish fulfilled. You literally relax the psychological grip on emotion into the state of the wish fulfilled. And you'll find as you apply this regularly, as he says here, we should often deliberately disentangle our minds from the evidence of the senses. It gets easier and easier as you experience the effortless path of least resistance to realizing your desires. So I trust you found this video to be helpful. Let's go ahead and conclude this with an auto-suggestion to further encourage. You could say, I, as formless awareness, give form to my world through imagination, where all things in eternity exist now. I accept that what I desire is already mine, and it is done for me in an effortless, blissful way as I, from the position of the observer, see how everything is rearranged for me in a loving spirit of harmony with all as the journey to realizing my vision. If you would like a copy of this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk with you soon. Take care.